What's going on, guys? It's Merwin. Today we're going to talk about my top songs of 2022. So if you guys haven't been watching, we've been going through some of my top music from 2022. So we talked about like my top rap songs, top rap albums. Today we're going to be talking about my top non-rap songs from 2022. So anything not rap, we're going to be ranking those, going through my top 10 and doing some honorable mentions. We're just going to get started here. We're going to start out with some honorable mentions. So we have 5 songs that are going to get an honorable mention here. So we're going to start out here with the first one is going to be If I Get Caught by Division. So an artist from Canada here, Division. I've been following them for a little bit. Haven't gotten super into their discography. I have a little, not recently as much, but at the beginning I followed them a little bit more. Very good. I believe, I'm unclear if it's one person or if it's a band. I honestly forget because I don't follow them like that tightly. But really nice song, really unique, really toxic, but really good. I like it a lot. I think it's really cool. I know there was a little bit of a hate when this one came out just because of the Jay-Z chop. People thought it was a little weird. It's definitely a unique rhythm, but I think it's pretty interesting, and I think it's overall a cool song. It's definitely very catchy, especially like kind of that bigger group vocal for the chorus. I think it's really cool. I understand why, people at the beginning were kind of hating just because the chop was a little weird for the Jay-Z sample. But I think it actually fits pretty good, and I enjoy it, which is all that really matters with music. If you like it, then you like it. So that is my first honorable mention. Moving on to the next honorable mention here, we're just gonna kind of breeze through these here, is Bad Fruit by Gene Dawson. So Gene Dawson's super underrated. I found him with his album Pixel Bath, which is kind of like his breakthrough album a little bit, or at least we're down a little bigger. So I was really excited for this album, and is really good. Almost would have made my album list, but I didn't. I don't know, it just kind of skipped my mind, and I think there are other ones that I've enjoyed more. Not that his album was bad. I think there's just other albums that came out this year that I enjoyed more, so it's not on my favorite albums list, but definitely very good as well. Super good song. This is a really cool one. Production is really cool, the lyrics are really deep, and it's really cool. Earl Sweatshirt's on this, which is like super random and doesn't seem like it's gonna fit when you hear the song starting, but he fits in really well, which is really unique. The whole album, like I said, is really good. Definitely encourage you guys to check that out. Gene Dawson, super cool, super dope. Moving on to the next one, an artist who had one of the biggest years ever for any music artist of all time. I have Moscow Mule from Bad Bunny. So I have not gotten super into like the reggaeton or like Spanish rap scene. Obviously I know like J Balvin and Bad Bunny, they're all like insane, breaking records, numbers are like insane. Obviously Drake had a bar about that. So I checked out his latest album just to listen to it, because obviously if you have that many listeners, you must be doing something right. So it is a very cool album. I threw it on, I've listened to it a little bit. I think the language barriers definitely makes it a little difficult for me to just listen to it at all, like a lot, like to get it consistently in my rotation. But it's a very cool vibe, very summery album, fits very well. This is my favorite song off of that album, is Moscow Mule. Beat's really cool. I think if I remember correctly, I think that is the first song on that album, which I think again might contribute to why it's my favorite. But yeah, that's the first song on the album. Very good. There are probably ones that Bad Bunny fans will tell me that are better. This is the one that clicked with me the most out of all that, out of what I listened to on the album. But obviously he's had an insane year this year, so kind of hard to ignore that. Moving on to the next one here, I feel like this has been kind of like a little bit of a down year for the pop genre. Most of the songs on here are a little bit more, fitting into subgenres and things like that. But for this one, we have Don't Come Back by Tate McRae. So if you didn't listen to this album, I think definitely check it out. It's a very solid pop album. Got like some alternative stuff, rock kind of going on, a little bit of Olivia Rodrigo kind of, borrowing on this album, I definitely a lot of inspiration trying to follow in her footsteps with this album. This one's my favorite. I think the drums and the melody, and then it's got like this cool little guitar line as kind of the basis for the song. Very catchy. This is also, I think some of these songs, especially with like the honorable mentions specifically, are songs that came out in months and weeks where it was a very dry music release time. So like, especially like this one, there wasn't like any big releases I think around the time this one came out, so that's why I was listening to it, because like it's the only thing that came out. So that's what I will say that for the honorable mentions, is that a lot of these came out in more dry spells of like as far as music releases, but definitely still a solid album. Got some really nice more emotional like ballads and stuff on there, so I would definitely check it out, especially if you like Olivia Rodrigo. There will definitely be some songs that you would like on this album. Moving on to the next and final honorable mention, 1,000 Miles by the Kid Laroi. So this is another one. It came out the same day, I believe, as Pusha T's It's Almost Dry. So I listened to this first before I listened to Pusha T's album, because obviously it's one song. It's going to take less time to listen to. Very good, very catchy. I'm not like a huge Kid Laroi fan, but again, I believe he's from Chicago if I remember correctly, so I've known him for a while. And again, Juice WRLD had the connection with him, so I've known him for a while. I know some people like love him. But I think he's got a great voice. He's very young, very talented. So excited to see where he goes with his career. This is probably one of my favorite Kid Laroi songs. Very catchy. The guitar beat is really good. Nothing super crazy going on, but it's just a good song, and super catchy. And like you really get to see like his voice shine through in this song, which is really good. Yeah, definitely check that out if you didn't listen to it. Now, moving on here, we're going to start with our ranking. So we're going to start from the bottom. We're going to go through 10 all the way to 1. Starting at number 10 here, we have Lemon Tree by Post Malone. So I've been a pretty big Post fan. I got Stoney right here on the album wall. I've been a Post fan for a while. I remember when White Iverson came out, and we were all big on that. So I've been following him for a long time. I really enjoyed his latest album here, 12 Karat Toothache. But I think, again, that was an album that probably kind of similar to how I talked about the Joey Badass album. It's a good album, but maybe a little bit underwhelming for what I had expected. It's got a lot of good songs on the album. This one is my favorite. I think it's really cool because it's the most emotional. It's got the most, well, actually, I would say, I don't know. I think it might not be the most emotional, but it's one of the most emotional. Yeah, he also has a love-hate letter to alcohol too, which is also a very emotional one as well. But I think Lemon Tree is my favorite on this one. Like I say, it's really cool to see him singing like a really super emotional song, especially with that style production backing it, where it's like also like really melancholic like production. Really good song, super good. It's just, you can't go wrong with a song like this. It's just done really well, and like I said, Post has a really good voice as well. So that is my number 10 song. At number 9 here, moving on to the next one, we have Who Cares by Rex Orange County. This, again, kind of similar to the honorable mention one. I think I had not really gotten into Rex Orange County at all, and, like, again, the album they released this year is the only one that I have listened to from them. But this is my favorite song on the album. This is an album that, again, I was listening to similar to the honorable mentions. I checked it out and listened to it purely because there was not much else that had been released recently or had just been released. So I checked it out. This is my favorite on it. The one with Tyler is also pretty good. But this is the one that has held up the most throughout the year. It's a really good album, really solid. I think, I'm not a huge fan of them. Like I said, I hadn't listened to them prior to this or him. I think it might be one person. But this is my favorite on it. I think it's the catchiest, and I think, it is the best of that album all in one song. That would be my one critique for this album, is that it is very cohesive sonically, but I think sometimes it might be a little bit too cohesive, in that if I were to think about the songs right now, they all just kind of run together and blend together, and there aren't really many standouts other than this one and the one that I remember that has Tyler on it. Still a very good album. If you like kind of like more laid back, like alternative, like kind of like indie pop, definitely check out this album. You probably already know them if you haven't, if you are into that, but definitely check it out. This is my number 9 song. At number 8, we have an artist who I had previously not heard of. We have Evergreen by Omar Apollo. So this is an artist that I found out through TikTok because they were doing the You Didn't Deserve Me at All sound was trending for a while. This album, I'll be talking about this album in my albums list, but this album is super good. This is one where there were a couple Omar songs I could have put in here from this album. I think this was the one that initially caught my ear and is probably the one that I still like the most. But there are a lot of songs in that album that are really solid, really cool. Production's really good. He's got a great voice. This is probably the R&B album that I have liked the most since Blonde, probably, in my opinion. I think it's really good. Most of the stuff that, like, Brent Faiyaz, I know Wasteland came out this year. That one was really good, but I like this one a lot. I like this one a lot more. We'll talk about SZA later. But that is probably it for this one. Really good song. Can't go wrong with it. Definitely check out the album if you want something more chill. And it's R&B. Can't go wrong. Production's really good. He also definitely does, which is cool with this album, and I'll talk about it. He does experiment with going into different, a little bit more different genres, which is cool. Moving on to the next song at number 7, we have Baby Cakes by Muramasa. I've been a big Muramasa fan for a while, especially with his first album. It is right. Oh, you can't really see it, but the album art's down there for it. So I've been a big Miro Masa fan for a while. He's a great producer. He does a good job bringing in all these different artists and such to work with him. This one's my favorite. I think it's really cool. It's the beat is super fire. And I forget who the other collaborator is. Uzi. He does a great job, obviously. Oh, Pink Panthers. Yeah, that's right. So then he's got Pink Panthers on this as well, which is super cool as well. And just together, they pair really well. The hook is super catchy and gets stuck in my head a lot, so this is one that I was definitely on repeat a lot. It's also a little bit of a shorter song. It's a little under 3 minutes. Definitely encourage you to check it out. It's cool. It's got like a really nice, like, feels very bright, happy, you know, kind of like bubblegummy a little bit. Would be like maybe a weird way to describe it. That's kind of how I feel about it, or how it makes me feel. But super nice song, super upbeat. Throw it on, great song, like it a lot. Moving on to the next one, we have "Stay With Me" by Calvin Harris. So this is an album that I probably would put in one of my more underwhelming albums of the year with Funk Waves Volume 2. I love the first one. Slide, obviously, is incredible. Lots of other great tracks on that album. This album was a little bit more underwhelming, I think partially due to the features. I think there were less features that were super engaging and exciting. But there are some great songs. I like the one with Dua Lipa. Obviously, I love Dua Lipa, so that one's a great song as well. This one's my favorite, I think, with the strings, the like thing on there, the like string synth. This is the most unique of the songs on the album, and I think that's why I like it the most. It stands out the most. Oh, Justin Timberlake, Halsey, and Pharrell, which I think they do a good job on those features there. Like I say, I forgot who was on it, but it is a good song, super solid all around, just, you know, really nice. It's very unique, especially within the album, so definitely very super cool. Moving on to the next one at number 5, we have "Break My Soul" by Beyonce. This album is really, really cool, especially really nice, really interesting, kind of maybe somewhat departure for Beyonce, but into like the house dance kind of genre a little bit. This one is really good. Like it a lot, super upbeat. The pianos are really good. Being, you know, near Chicago, I've known about like Chicago house music for a while, so this is a genre I'm somewhat familiar with. But I really like this song a lot. I think it's really good. Beyonce obviously kills it. She's got an incredible voice. Really good song, really nice. Again, super upbeat, kind of like "Stay With Me," just a really nice upbeat song. You know, kind of feels very summery, very good to throw on. You know, just kind of, you know, whatever you're doing. Super nice song, like it a lot. That is it for that one. And at number 4, moving on to the next one, we have "Smoking on My X-Pac" by SZA. This is one where I could have put a number of songs from SZA's new album on there. SZA, I'll be talking about her new album in my favorite albums video coming out soon. But I could put a number of songs from her here. I just kind of decided to stay truthful to what my plays say, and partially because the song is still short, but it is my most played from this album. This one is really cool. You got like kind of these old school hip hop chops, and then you got SZA rapping, which is fire, and then, you know, her singing later on the outro, which is super cool. It's overall just a really unique vibe and stands out on the track list. I think some of the other songs that I really like that I maybe could have put in there, that I considered putting in there, I like "Low" a lot. "Low" is super cool, and obviously that one's kind of been trending a little bit. "Kill Bill" is also cool and very unique. I also really like the one with Phoebe Bridgers, who's also an artist that I like a lot. Or "Ghost in the Machine" is super cool, and also kind of a random collab that I wouldn't have expected to happen. So definitely check out that album. That one's my 4th favorite song of the year. Moving on to the next one, number 3, we have "90 Proof" by Smino. So I've known Smino for a while. Again, he's kind of a cool artist where like he's bled into rap maybe a little bit with like some features and things. And then, you know, he does R&B and such like that. So I was super excited for his new album just based off this song, and I think he did another single before the album came out. This one was one that I enjoyed when it first came out and I first listened to it. Like, I really, really enjoyed it the more I listened to it, especially with J. Cole on it. J. Cole obviously killed it. I'm a big J. Cole fan, love his verse on there. This is one that the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. Especially with, you know, it's got kind of more of a unique, like, falsetto-y chorus. But the more I listen to it, the more I like it. Whole album is really good. We'll be talking about that one in my albums list as well. Super good. Definitely encourage you to check that song out. Now I'm going to the top 2 here. Second favorite song, and this is one. These top 2 are basically interchangeable. I went back and forth a little bit on it. At number 2, we have Out of Time by The Weeknd. So we'll be talking about Dawn FM in the albums video that I'll record right after this in a second here. But this is my favorite one off of that album. There's a couple again that I maybe could have put in there, but this is the one that I think has the best like sticking power with me. So Out of Time, super good. The like Out of Time line is like super catchy, really good. Just really classic production. Super smooth, silky, can't go wrong with it. The whole album is really good, and I'll talk about more in the album thing. I think this album kind of gets a little bit forgotten about just because it was released at the beginning of the year in January, which I think has its pros and cons. But still a super solid album. This one's my favorite off of it. Gasoline is also really good. Sacrifice also really good. Lots of good ones on there. This one's my favorite though. Really nice. Now moving on to the top song of the year here for me. This is my favorite non-rap song of the year. Probably going to be no surprise. We have Bad Habit by Steve Lacy as my number 1 song this year. This is one, like I say, I've known of Steve Lacy and I've like maybe skimmed through his music before just because of who he's produced for. He's produced for Mac Miller, he's produced for Kendrick, all these things. So I've known of him for a while. This is my first time really like with anticipating a release from him and like going into the album with that. This is probably, I'm not even sure, I think this is probably one of my more favorite songs on the album from him. But I was able, this one came out and I knew the album was coming, so I listened to it right away. So in my opinion, I was listening to this before it got big on TikTok, but that's just me. But I think this is a really good song. I definitely feel like it deserves all the love it's getting. Unfortunately, maybe a little bit too much love that if you've seen the concert stuff for him. But I think very good song. Steve Lacy does a great job. I think he pretty obviously produced it because I think he produces for other people, so I assume he would produce his own stuff. Chorus is great. Hook is really good. The guitars are like super catchy, super good. Like everything about it is really good. Definitely well deserved. I don't remember if it got Grammy nominated or not, but I think it definitely deserves it for Song of the Year. That is basically it here for my top songs of 2022. Got one more 2022 video I'll be recording right after I press the stop button here with my top non-rap albums of 2022. That is basically it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.